Hello everyone, I'm Alan, also known as McLaren 2009, and today I'm back playing Train Sim World 3. Haven't played it for a little while, but I figured it was time to continue working on it. But I haven't decided which route I want to work on. Probably the intelligent thing to do would be to do more stuff on the horseshoe curve, considering I start next month working in that area. Or I could do something different. Like in the past, I've done a couple of things on the Sherman Hill DLC, and I've also worked on the Sand Patch Grade. The Peninsula Corridor's okay. This one was just, like, weird. Not that there's anything necessarily wrong with it, it was just, like, weird. Like, I did the tutorial, and then I was like, hold up. We don't have an independent brake. I don't know anything about how the signaling works. I don't know what's going on. This one is also pretty cool. Okay, this ought to be interesting. This one can take 30 minutes. Let's give it a shot. Now, I do have to say that I like the routes that are native to Train Sim World 3 specifically. They just seem like better made, and then the fact that there's a whole tutorial world to explore in is just crazy to me. Like, so many of the things that I had problems with in Train Sim World 2, like stuff that just wasn't explained, is actually explained in 3. Maybe some of the other routes from, like, the European routes, for example. Maybe some of the native ones for 3 over there are better. I like this route. Perform a cold start on this pair of ES44 C4s and head over to the reception yard. Which ones? Alright. Okay, good news. It's this side. No conductor. It happens. Okay, engine on, control on, generator field on. Oh, fuel pump. Okay, now we go over here. Should be more options. Operator controls. Cut in. What? Okay, it tells me to set up the brake valves for cut in and lead. Alright, let's go. More options. Operator controls. Okay, it was working, but it wasn't working. Alright. Enable banking comms, even though that's the push to talk button. Alright, whatever. Is this the tutorial world? No, this is Barstow. Okay. Up here, you'll notice that only the front locomotive is currently on. So basically the second locomotive is just like dead weight, which is kind of a problem if you think about it. So that's probably something I should address. Oh well. Alright, so let's start applying. That real quick. We're on flat ground, so I've got that going for me, which is nice. And a little over a football field away. And we're good to go. I think out of all of the I say out of all of the routes, but I really don't have all that many. But out of the routes I have access to, I like this one the best because I think it looks the best. That might have something to do with the fact that it's my only Train Sim World 3 route. And then literally every other one is all a legacy compatibility version from Train Sim World 2. But as bad as it's gonna sound, like every one is lacking in some way, shape, or form. Okay, where do you want me to get what? Okay, so switch that track, switch that track. No, it's not that button. Okay. At some point I'll figure out how to control it. Oh! I'm freaking stupid. The instructions were to go through this point, not to stop at this point. Now, I absolutely do not need to be in Notch 2 for this. I have no cars. I have 2 locomotives and I'm only using one of them, so do with that what you will. Really isn't a whole lot in this map. So yeah, I got the idea that I wanted to get back into my various train simulator games to kind of build up to getting ready to become a conductor in real life. Now, obviously, in this game and also in Derail Valley, I'm not currently doing the job of a conductor, I'm doing the job of an engineer. But it's still pretty cool to kind of get like an idea of what the railroad looks like. Even though I know real life will be vastly different from how it appears in the game. This game in particular, the main thing that it does well is that it shows you what the equipment looks like, and they're modeled pretty well, but as far as like the functional systems go, sometimes it's kind of lacking. But at least it looks nice, for the most part. There are certainly some parts of this that I think don't look very nice, but at least this one I think looks good. Released. I mean, we are going uphill slightly, so there's that. But we don't have any weight. Like, take this console, for example. Like, you'll look at this monitor over here, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff that you can't even interact with it. The only thing you can do on this screen in the game is you can make it bright or dim. But you know that it has a lot more stuff. Like if you're used to some of the other routes and you go to one of like the mines, you'll know that you use the speed control and that's your slow speed mode, which allows you to go underneath the coal loading thing and fill up the cars, but that button doesn't do anything, so you can only hope that, well, you don't load anything in this game. Or you don't load anything on this route, I should say. And then, really, the slow speed controls in this game altogether is kind of a mixed bag. Because on, like, the Sand Patch grade, it works great. They have a tutorial that tells you how to use it. It's awesome. But then you go over to the Horseshoe Curve route. They don't have a tutorial on how to use it. And it kinda has questionable results. And it's a little bit more finicky to use. It does work, it's just you have to play with it a little bit. It's not quite as simple as just set it and forget it as it is on the other route. You still have to kind of vary the throttle setting a little bit, which is kind of annoying, but at least it does give you something. This, on the other hand, I got nothing. Like, I have this sinking suspicion that for a relatively short trip like this, I have a feeling we probably could have put the locomotive on jog and just, like, rolled over without starting the engine, but I don't know that for sure. It seems like that would be a relatively short trip that you wouldn't need the engines for. But I don't know exactly how limited the jog mode is. I just know that it's a thing. Alright, messed up. Didn't go far enough. Except I'm slightly confused because I thought the instructions were to get it... I thought we were taking it for maintenance. Alright, clearly we are not. Alright, let's fully set that. That was reasonable. Alright, fuel cap. It's actually really cool that it lets you do that in this game. It's too far away. Okay, this is going to be a process. Alright, can I fit in here? Kind of. Okay, now I need to go forward. Slightly. Which actually brings me to another problem that I have with this game. Sometimes the zones for the objectives are kind of like in a weird place. Okay, as a matter of fact, let's take out the reverser handle. Because that seems like the safe thing to do. Okay. I don't know how it is with a locomotive, but I know with a truck, I would be wearing gloves for this process. Is it full? I guess so. And I don't know. Alright, that's not aligned. That's not aligned. Okay. Let's cancel the bell. Release the independent. Hold up. Something's messed up. Alright, my background music, like, died on me. It's kind of quiet anyway, but it just wasn't doing what I needed it to do. Alright, what's going on over here? Fair enough. Okay. Alright, so we've got this. Going backwards. I feel like I'm probably going to regret not turning on the second locomotive, but at the same time, as far as like the gameplay goes, I don't think it's going to matter. A little over 1,000 yards. And I checked every switch between my current location and where I'm going. But I know that because I just came through here, I know this turn goes down to 10 miles an hour instead of 15. So we're just gonna stick to this speed for a little while. Hope for the best. It'll actually be really cool to get to work with this type of equipment in real life, because my real experience with train cars, or my real experience with the railroad, has been limited just to freight cars. So it'll be really cool to work around locomotives, actually start working in like a rail yard, just learning how to be a conductor in general. It all just seems really, really cool to me. Alright, let's see. Alright, can't see anything. missed a crossing. Now, the thing is, with this game, they don't really teach you when to use these things. You would really only know it if you've done it in real life, or you know anything about how it's done in real life. That, like, there's like an audio bug that's kind of like driving me crazy. And the reason it's driving me crazy is because I'm hearing the sounds of cars like coupling and like banging into each other, but nothing's moving. Like, we're hearing those over there move, but as you can see, they aren't moving. It's kind of funny, back when I did my orientation at the factory, the safety manager pointed out to us, or he asked us if we've ever heard what it sounds like when a train's rolling by. And we all knew what it sounds like. But he pointed out to us that you don't know it, but you've literally had hundreds of cars roll past that window in the past couple of days, but you don't hear any of them because new cars don't make sounds. Or they don't have that, like, grinding noise, if you will. Let's set the brakes. Let's go back up here. Let's actually get this second locomotive started. Alright, so... Wait a second. Nope. Let's go outside. Yeah, this one is off. So, let's go over here. Fuel pumps. Start. One 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000, 5 1,000. back over here. Make sure that's off, and that's off. That might be part of why it wasn't working and doing what it was supposed to do. Because basically for the trailing locomotive, per the owner's manual for a different locomotive, what you want on is engine run, gen field off, control off, dynamic brake off. And then you look down here, trail, cutout. Okay, so all of that is good, except the next thing we gotta do is long hood trail. Okay. Now, let's go back to our lead locomotive. Because I don't think I touched the light controls in this one. Short hood lead. Okay. Good to go. Alright, now, the whole reason that I got out at this point was because... Where is the... Alright, it's not marked. Alright, we want to go back here. Cut bar. As far as I am aware, only one of them needs to be unlocked. But it's whatever. Alright, let's go back up here. It's not important. Alright, we go back up here. Alright, so... throttle up. Alright, we're 100 yards away. See, it didn't matter in the slightest. Alright. I feel like that took way more than 30 minutes. Yay, gold star. It's supposed to take 30 minutes, it took 37. And part of the problem was the extra amount of time it took to straighten out dealing with refueling. I stopped where it told me to stop, found out I didn't go far enough. So I had to get back in the cab, which was a process in and of itself. Then I was finally able to get refueled. And lather, rinse, repeat. And we're good. So, through with fire and flames. Guest appearance by Dragon Force. What do we got? Oh. Generator field on, insert reverser handle. Okay. Okay. Okay, at least this one's set up. Oh, I have a conductor this time. Oh, you know what? Settings... Okay. I was previously used to it having the marker appear on screen, yet for some odd reason it wasn't appearing on screen. And then it was also weird because when I first opened up Train Sim World, my the game, I was logged out, so that was kind of weird. but you look back here, and the lights aren't working. It's almost as if they forgot to include the ability to actually make the make the light controls do anything. Like, some routes it's there, some routes it isn't. It's like the weirdest thing. Like, an example of one that has the fully working headlight system is probably Sandpatch Grade, and I think that's it. I don't think it works on Horseshoe Curve. I don't think it works on Sherman Hill. Clearly it doesn't work here. Who knows? Coupling to 30 cars. Alright, and then we gotta go a long way away. I think. I got a feeling this one's going to take a while. See, this right here is red, so you would think that means that I wouldn't be able to proceed. But I guess we'll figure it out. See, that looks like a parking lot, but there's like nothing in it, which is really, really weird. supposedly, if you look at like the general consensus with the people that play this game, or at least talk about it online, you would think that you would get the impression that pretty much every route that takes place here in the US is kind of like neglected and forgot about. So it kind of makes sense that we're sort of lacking certain things. And it kind of sucks because there really aren't too many other options out there for us. Like, as far as the simulators that I play, I have this and I have Derail Valley. This has the realistic equipment, but Derail Valley has more immersive gameplay. Alright, so let's fully set that. Neutral reverser, go to first person. And let's go out, make sure the cut levers are open and all that fun stuff. See, it's weird because in the tutorials for Train Sim World 3, they specifically tell you, and that's part of this route here, they specifically tell you, stop before you couple with the vehicle, or before you couple with the cars, and make sure that at least one coupler is unlocked. If you don't do that, it won't work. And you can potentially just bounce off. But so far, even with like the hand-holding nature of these scripted scenarios, they're not mentioning that part. Have to get up out of the seat, because if I go to press the if I press the 2 button right now, I'm outside of this cab, or outside of the cab of the locomotive I'm in, and if I press the 2 button again, I'll go to the opposite end of the train. If I didn't do that, I wouldn't go to the back of the train. I would press the 2 button a second time, and I would just go to the second locomotive. So it's just something weird that you just have to notice. Alright, so attractive efforts going up. And these are empty cars. We have 33 cars. And we know that about 700 tons is just the locomotives, so we got another 1,000 tons of cars, just rolling stock in general. And according to the scenario, they're empty. And then it's also funny that in the tutorial, they specifically tell you to turn on banking comms, even though it doesn't do anything in the tutorial. It only does something if you have other locomotives at the other end of the train, which we don't. But that's an interesting thing to talk about in and of itself, because that is using a radio for distributed power. And I say that that's an interesting thing to talk about because you look right here, we have distributed power, but we don't. What the? Oh no. No, 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 no. Rolling backwards. That's a bit of a problem. Okay. But, yeah. In the game, you press banking comms to simulate distributed power, but that's kind of weird because literally all of the locomotives that have this display, or that have these smart multifunction displays, have distributed power built into them. But it's not in the game. Why is it not in the game? The developers hate us? I don't know. It's like the weirdest thing. And on the random off chance that anybody is a returning viewer to the stream, you might be wondering why I don't have my webcam on today. I just didn't feel like setting up my green screen. I was feeling kind of lazy today. Normally I would have been playing in VR anyway, and there's no point turning on my camera for that. Because I'm not like keeping track of what I'm doing on cam. So this time it's literally just as simple as I just didn't feel like it. I was watching a YouTube video yesterday about a completely different game, or a completely different train simulator, one that I'm kind of curious about. It's called Run 8. Kind of interested in that one. It appears to have the detail that Train Sim World is lacking. But I don't know that for sure. But the guy that was playing it in the video, I get the impression that he's actually a train engineer in real life. And he was kind of like talking about some of the stuff like behind the, not behind the scenes, but like the stuff that you actually do differently to drive a real locomotive. And it was just really, really cool to listen to it. Like, there are aspects of handling a train that I was not aware of, but my railroad experience comes from a factory where we built cars, not from working on locomotives. But that's all going to change in the very near future, like 2 more weeks pretty much, or 2, yeah, let's just call it 2.5 weeks. And I'll be in training to become a conductor. So I'll be that guy over there, not the one over here. So I'm actually really looking forward to that. I think it'll be really cool. I gotta keep an eye on my speed around here, because it only goes up to 10, but we're currently going slightly downhill. But the thing that's weird is part of the train's going up, part of the train's going down. It's just a bunch of like weird, minute details that I don't know anything about. And then you can see here, we're going to level out, we're going to start going down, then we're going to start going up. And then this part is weird. Like, the speed limit's going to spike up to like 80, but for like 1/10 of a mile? Like, what is going on here? Like, I don't think the speed limits in this game make sense. And that's saying something, because I play Derail Valley, where the speed limits are kind of like the allowable safe speed, and that's about it. But it only works for like that specific area. Whereas the speed limits with this arguably make sense-ish. Except when you get to stuff like this, where somehow the length of a switch, the speed limit spikes. I don't get it. Yeah, I don't have a real moderator at the moment. All I've got is the auto mod, and it's kind of sensitive about some things. like, as far as, like, the map goes, it makes sense to have a speed limit, like, drop significantly for, like, a Switch. I understand that. It's just very bizarre that the speed limit would spike at a Switch. Like, you would think that since this is 10, this is 10, this is not, this is like 80. What's up with that? This should be 10, just like all of this. So, even though it might pop on the screen, I'm not gonna go faster. Oh yeah, the game is not realistic. The only thing that I would argue that's even remotely realistic is the models look good, but they don't even necessarily function the same that the real ones do. Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying earlier about how the game simulates distributed power with this banking comm switch, but there's actually a distributed power switch right there. Up to 12. Now that's crazy. I think I have these 3 locomotives and then 30 supposedly empty cars. So this is a very short train, all things considered. My real-world railroad experience, I worked as a welder in a factory for a little over a year, building freight cars, and the most of what I built were coal cars. Occasional, like, general purpose, like just hopper cars, grain cars, and a couple of log cars. But I'm starting with the railroad as a conductor trainee the middle of next month. Well, the factory that I worked in was in Roanoke, Virginia. Before this, I drove trucks. And before that, I was a college student. And before I became a college student, I was in the Marine Corps. My friends jokingly told me that by the time I retire, my resume is going to be a mile long and I'm going to have a million different jobs on it. if I look at this, that right there says red signal. Am I going crazy? I was with, yeah, I get that. It's just, it's not telling me to stop, it's telling me to go. So, do I just assume that the signals don't do anything either in this game? Basically, every time I play Train Sim World 3, I just get increasingly more and more disappointed with it, and I keep finding, like, new ways to be disappointed with it. Like, I really want to like this game, but there's just so much stuff that it's just kind of, like, lacking. Although I should probably save. Because the game is strict enough that you absolutely will fail a scenario if you blow a signal. So it's kind of become like another inside joke with my channel that if I ever make it successfully as a streamer, instead of getting sponsored by Dovetail Games, they're going to send a hitman after me, because all I do is complain whenever I play their games. Which is also why I generally prefer playing Derail Valley, even though it doesn't have the realistic equipment. It has the more immersion of being able to play it in VR, and you get to work with, like, the couplers and all that stuff, and you get to use your hands to actually move the levers, and you're not just, like, clicking on something on the screen. It's just a different feel. I actually have no idea. I've never played Train Sim Classic. Like, I got this one because, or I got this one because I upgraded from Train Sim World 2. But I picked this one over Train Simulator before it became Train Sim Classic because it looked like in this one you can get out of the cab and, like, walk around. And you absolutely can do that. So I really like that aspect of this game. I like being able to get out of the cab and walk around. And I got Train Sim World 2. I don't really know why I got it, I just did. I don't even remember why I got it. I just got it one day. And then when I decided that I was going to switch from driving trucks to working with trains, I upgraded Train Sim World 2 to Train Sim World 3 back in January of this year. And a lot of the things that I was complaining about from Train Sim World 2 got fixed with 3, but then at the same time, there are also a couple of things that were not fixed. Like, for instance, when the most recent passenger route came out for, like, the Northeast Corridor for Train Sim World 2 or 3, they had put in there somewhere in the notes that they improved the Sherman Hill route in Wyoming to make it look more comparable to the rest of Train Sim World 3. So I got that recommendation, and I was like, alright, cool, I'll check it out. It's on sale at the moment, so let me just get that and give it a shot, see how it goes, and all that fun stuff. And every time I play that route, I get deeper and deeper into, like, buyer's remorse. I don't particularly like that route. I think I'll just stick with the Horseshoe Curve DLC, because that's the area that I'm actually going to be working in. So it'll be kind of cool to get an idea, even if only loosely, what the terrain looks like. And then I decided to play this route today because I haven't really played this route very much, even though it's the only route that I have from Train Sim World 3, and because of that, I think it probably looks the best. And then I basically decided I wanted to get back into playing my various train simulators because, well, I'm leaving in 3 weeks, or 2.5 weeks, to become a conductor in real life. Alright, see, that says block is red, but I have not gotten a red light. It's like sometimes the signals work and it'll make you fail if you blow through a red light. And that was actually like a bug that was in Train Sim World 2. And it got fixed for 3, but you can still fail because of it. But at the same time, when you think it's going to fail, and then it just doesn't fail because it's not doing what it's supposed to, like, if you haven't been trained by an actual railroad company to know how these things work, you're not going to learn it in this game. In fact, you're really not going to learn much of anything in this game. You kind of just have to figure it out for yourself and hope for the best. Alright, so let's check our little terrain map. It says we're all going uphill for the next 6 miles, and the speed limit's staying fairly constant at like 80, give or take. So we can speed up a little bit. I'm not sure saying that I enjoy this game is the right word. Like, I want to like it. Like, I think it's a really cool idea. I really like simulator games in general because they allow you to see something you might not actually get to do in real life. Although, with that being said, when I did my interview, it was actually my second interview, because my first interview, I was interviewed by Amtrak to be a passenger conductor. And I guess in that interview I was more excited about about working in the yard and building trains than I was about checking tickets and interacting with passengers. So that might have something to do with why I didn't get that job. But then when I got interviewed to be a freight conductor, I got offered the job within 24 hours. So I guess I was much more enthusiastic about that interview. And, but the point that I was getting to is when I did my interview to become a freight conductor specifically, you have to watch a video about life in the a day in the life of a conductor with the company. And one of the things in the video was that to back up and give a little bit of a backstory to this whole thing, when I originally started thinking that I might want to work for the railroad, I was like, can I be an engineer? Can I learn how to drive? Can I learn how to drive a train? And then I found out that yes, you can, but you don't generally start out as an engineer. You start out as a conductor, and then you later become an engineer. And then when I got to the interview process and I watched the video, they were like, depending on seniority and the needs of the company, it's not a question of if you can be an engineer, it's when. At some point, your number is going to be called, and you're going to go to school. You're going to get a mandatory promotion. I know, let go of my arm. You're going to force me to take an extra 50 grand a year. Let go of my arm. I'll go willingly. So, in the interview, I asked about that in the video, and I was like, the video said you get like a mandatory promotion where you have to go to engine school. And I was like, so how long does somebody normally stay a conductor for? And the HR representative was like, it varies depending on the specific terminal that you go to. It could be as little as 24 hours. Like, you literally check in, and it's like, yeah, it turns out we actually need engineers more than we need conductors, so congratulations, you're going to engine school. Or it could be 5-6 years waiting for your number to be called. Although the video did also say that there are other paths if you don't want to go that way. Like, instead of becoming an engineer, you could become like a yard master or operations trainee. And then I was thinking about it, and I was like, that sounds kind of cool. But then I was watching a different YouTube video, and he was talking about how when he worked for the railroad, he was like, yeah, every time I've interacted with a yard master, without fail, they're always having the worst day of their lives. it's like, hey, can you get this thing sent over here so we can work on it and get it fixed? And he's just sitting there like, dear God, just take a number. I'm trying. And then it's like, I don't know, that might be more stressful than I realized. Maybe that's not the move. But that's all years off in the future anyway. Let's worry about becoming a licensed conductor first, and then getting cleared for the route that I'll be working on. Baby steps. We're on step like 3, and we don't have time to worry about step 500. We'll get there when we get there. So for now, I just, air quotes, happily sit here playing Train Sim World and trying not to complain about it too much. I say try not to complain about it too much, but I'm gonna complain about it. Like, this is like the leading train simulator on the market. We don't have too many other options that have this level of functionality. So I guess if you're the only option available, you're probably gonna get some criticism. And sometimes it feels like they kind of like abandoned the American or the North American routes in general, and they don't put as much work into it as they do the European counterparts. So I got wondering about that, and I was checking out the Steam page for it, and something that I was looking, because I was kind of curious. I was like, okay, if they put more work and effort into the European routes, then it's like if they put more effort into the European routes, is there a European freight route? Because I like the freight routes. The freight stuff is really, really cool. I like that in this game. The passenger routes are okay, but in my opinion, the passenger routes are kind of like stressful, for lack of a better word. And they're really I only think they're stressful because of like how strict like the timetable is. Like, you have down to like seconds to get from point A to point B, and if you're over that limit by even like a couple of split seconds, it's like you're over that limit by a couple of seconds, your score is just going to get worse and worse and worse, and it's just going to get progressively worse for you the farther you go. Alright, so I have... What? Update on wildfire. Fire department is on site, but the fire is not under control. There's a slight haze, but track visibility is good. Okay. Now it'll be interesting if they actually put that in as a thing. Like, is this going to affect my gameplay in any way, shape, or form? The answer is probably not. all going uphill. Although I have this sinking suspicion that I'm not going to get all the way to Barstow. There are only 4 more objectives left. Like, we're down here. No, we started there. Yeah, we're not getting to Barstow. Because it's telling us to stop at the summit. So, right there. So, yeah, we're not getting all the way to Barstow. We're gonna get there. Which, that's still pretty far. But this trip ain't going that far. Alright, so speed limit's gonna go up, but is it really worth it? I don't know. But the thing I'm kind of curious about with this scenario is it's scripted that there's a wildfire. Alright, cool. Well, it's not, but I'll explain. Alright, so there's another scenario. Yeah, there's a scripted scenario on the Peninsula Corridor route. And the thing with the Peninsula Corridor route, there is a mission where the head end power fails on the bullet train. So you have to shut down head end power, attempt to start it, and then it's scripted where you fail to start head end power. And then you have to drop off the passengers at the next stop, and then use the cab car at the back of the train to return back to the shop to get it fixed. And that's all good and fine, like, the scenario works, but the scripting doesn't. Like, the game doesn't have faults and failures built into it. Like, I think the only failure you can actually cause in this game is to kill the traction motors. Other than that, there is, like, nothing you can do to break something in this game. You can derail, and you can kill the traction motors. That's it. I bring up that specific scenario because you get the on-screen prompt telling you head end power has failed. Attempt to restart it. So you get out of the seat, you walk over to where the console is, and you have to figure out how to start head end power, by the way. But the game tells you that head end power has failed. It never explains what head end power is, it just tells you that it failed, and you need to start it. So you shut it down, and then you do that exact same process in reverse to start it back up. Now here's where it gets interesting. You do the process in reverse, and the head end power starts exactly like it's supposed to, but the game is telling you that it failed. Now, bring that back to this scenario right here. The game is saying that there is a wildfire and visibility is reduced. Now, is there a fire? Probably not. This is fog. Like, is it too much to ask to go the extra mile and actually put in system failures? Like, I don't know how many of you have played, like, the old Microsoft Flight Simulator. I would imagine the new one still has this, but I haven't played it since it was FSX. I still have the disc for the Ultimate Edition somewhere. I'm not sure where it is, but it's around here somewhere. Bottom line is, used to play Microsoft Flight Simulator when I was younger. And in the Microsoft Flight Simulator, there are, I guess you would call it a difficulty setting, but really it's kind of like the realism / simulator settings. And if you were actually a pilot, where you genuinely know how to fly a plane, there were things that you could do, like you could turn on certain settings, like you can cause in-flight emergencies and things that have to be addressed. Like, you can make the engines, so you can stall the engines, you can kill the engines, you can have fuel leaks, you can have avionics failures, you can stall. All of those things that you would generally have to know how to deal with before you get your wings, all of those things are in there if you choose to use them. There are a lot of things in here, and a lot of those things can break. So if you have a scenario in the game where one of those things breaks, is it so much to ask that you actually break the thing that broke? Like, yeah, if you're gonna have a system break, actually break that system. Is that too much to ask? Probably. I don't know, that's just my 2 cents. Not worth a whole lot, but those are just my thoughts. Like, I don't know if Specifically, there was an option in the flight simulator that you could have an engine fire, but I don't think it actually modeled like a fire that was visible from the outside. It just triggered the alarm in the cockpit, and you had to activate the fire suppression system. I don't think it actually modeled the fire, but nevertheless, you could still use the switches to activate the fire suppression system, and you could cut off fuel and throttle to that engine, and then you could request an emergency landing at the nearest air station or airport. And stuff like that makes it way more detailed, way more realistic. And if it says on the box that it's a simulator, we would expect it to be a simulator, if that makes sense. But that's probably just another example of me being crazy and wanting too much. But it is what it is. Alright, so next objective is in 1 mile. And we're going uphill. Granted, we're going uphill with a short train that's actually empty. So it's like whatever. Like, this thing up here, I know that it is an in-cab signal. I want to say it's connected to primary train control, but I don't know. I only know what that is in the first place. Like, I only know about that system in general because somebody on YouTube talked about it in passing. But I don't know anything about the system itself as a whole. But I mentioned that because it doesn't look like it does anything on this route. But then you go over to, like, the Sherman Hill DLC. There's a box up there that has these different color lights. The lights are never explained at any point. It's just, every once in a while, it'll beep at you when you change what type of signal you're going past. Which, that's all good and fine, but at no point do they ever tell you what the, it's like what the signal is, why it's beeping at you, what it means. They don't tell you any of those things. You just have to figure it out. Just hope for the best. Like, right now, I probably just made, like, a horrible, fatal mistake because I just killed the throttle, and now I gotta throttle it back up, which means we're going from 0 to 5 with, like, nothing in between. And it's like, I don't have the slightest idea what I'm doing. All I can do is just look over at the other side of the control stand and see my simulated conductor just, like, staring blankly into the abyss. I know he's judging me. He just doesn't have the words to say it. Alright, so... 1.7 miles, and then we're closing in on the stop. The stop will probably be around here. But it's worth noting that when I was asking if anything was actually on fire anywhere, which I don't think it is this just fog? Alright, you hear that subtle, like, clanging together? That is the coupling sound effect. It's like a weird audio bug. It's another thing that's kind of, like, annoying that I'm just going to complain about while I'm playing the game. Fairly certain yellow means proceed with caution, but prepare to stop. Like, you look in here, and you have the guide for just the heads-up display, except you'll notice that not all of these things are on all of the trains. So this will help you. It's just some of these are in a different order. Some of these are in a different order. These things don't always appear. That doesn't always appear. These are never explained. And I swear I've never seen this one, only this one. Like, there's just so much in this game that I don't understand. And I can't even, like, look it up because it's probably not implemented in the same way that it is in real life. Like, reading the actual GE owner's manual for the ES44AC locomotive did allow me to get the train moving on the horseshoe curve route, and I learned how to properly set up these locomotives for leading and trailing because the tutorial does not tell you, or it sort of tells you, but then it doesn't. So I had to learn how to use the real locomotive, and in learning about the real one, I found out all of the stuff that's not in this game. And then you try to use the other things to get more, like, detailed or immersive and kind of make it more of a simulator, and you just end up coming up short. Well, in learning how to use the real locomotive, I found out that some of the stuff in this game is just modeled wrong. It looks right, but then you'll notice that while everything's in the right place, it doesn't have all of the features that it should have. Like, if you look at this right here, all of these are fault indicators saying something is wrong with the locomotive. Now, if I mess up operating this locomotive hard enough, I can probably get it to wheel slip. I know that it will show the wheel slip indicator on the heads-up display, but I do not know if this will show. It might not. I truly don't know. But I don't think the other things will. Because most of the things on this screen don't do anything. Which is really, really weird, because when you look at what all is on these screens, and you're like, a couple of those things might actually be pretty useful in a simulator. Granted, you probably don't need to see, like, the event recorder or some of the, like, self-test features for the monitors. The map display would probably be pretty cool. There are the distance counters, the timers, and stuff like that, but they don't tell you what they're used for. So if you're not actually train crew, you're not even going to think to use those things, because it's never explained, like, what they're used for, why we use them. And since I haven't started training yet, I don't know either. Needed a screenshot to save my, or to transfer the video over to YouTube. Alright, so we are almost there, or we're almost somewhere. Summit till we clear backed up traffic. Okay. 4 miles. Okay, so in 4 miles, we'll be on flat-ish ground. Okay. That I can do. But the thing is, we're getting pretty steep. We're up to 3.2%. Now we're climbing. Alright, let's save our progress. Because it's about to flatten out a little bit. It is pretty cool that this game specifically has the tutorials on how to go down a hill. Like, this one specifically tells you that when you start going downhill, if you're going at the speed limit when you crest the hill, you're already going too fast. It tells you that there's a max effective range for the dynamic brake. So if you go, there's like a zone, like a sweet spot, where if you go below or above that zone, you lose braking force. Which, because of the video on the Derail Valley server, I ended up watching a whole bunch of videos yesterday on how the dynamic brake works, so that was pretty cool. Because we're getting the dynamic brake added to Derail Valley when the simulator update comes out in a couple of months, give or take. So I've been following the Discord server closely, and I'm slowly becoming more and more active in it. And yesterday they put out the video on the dynamic brakes for the diesel locomotives. And then a bunch of people were asking in the comments about the system and how and when you use it. And since I'm not a trained engineer, at least not yet, or not for a presumably long time, I don't really know. My experience comes from building train cars, not using them, if that makes sense. So, in trying to be helpful with that particular community, I decided to look it up. I wanted to look at what it does, how it does it, and also get a better understanding of when you use it, how you use it, and all of that fun stuff. So I'm really excited about that update. But the thing is, when the update is due to launch, I'll be in school. So, in that time frame, I'm going to end up taking a break from streaming for a little while. When I go down to get trained, and then once I get out of training, I'll be moving to a new location, so I probably won't be streaming very much in that time period until I get back established with... It's like until I get established with good working internet. It'll probably be a little while before I get to stream again. And then I'll be on the extras board for the railroad, so my schedule is going to get a little bit weird. But it's all good in the grand scheme of things. I've tried streaming before in the past. It didn't go so well the first time. I had like 3 followers that I didn't know in real life. I only had 5 in total. And I didn't do it very consistently or for very long. And I found out that if you do actually stream consistently, like you maintain like a schedule, you stick to like a demographic or like a certain type of audience or type of like category or something that you're going to stream, it turns out if you're more consistent and stable with whatever you do, more people are going to watch. So I've had better results this time, but I have no I guess I have no like delusions that I'm gonna ever find myself in a position to stream full time. Alright, I need to save because the last thing I want to do is accidentally blow through this signal that's a 1/10 of a mile away from where I'm supposed to stop. So let's set up. Should have set up the dynamic brake a long time ago. This is going to be a problem. And the scenario. Fantastic. Alright, let's update the counter. Okay. Basically going downhill. In fact, we're going down a steep hill, so this is a bit of a problem. Keep slowing down until the brake pipe gets back up to pressure. It's a good thing that I saved, otherwise I would be very frustrated right now. Save again. Because we're going a little bit slower this time, so it'll be a little bit better in the long run. We have a much better chance of actually stopping and not blowing the signal by like a half mile. Accelerometer. Thing is that supposedly you look at the map, you have a signal here and the last one is back here. Supposedly you can stop anywhere between those signals. But the game doesn't work like that. You have to stop right on the objective marker. And it really sucks that the game makes you stop, like, or that the objective marker is right there. Supposedly, as long as you can see the signal, you can stop. Alright, I am literally right there. Just have to roll forward just a little bit. Release. Best I can figure is that actual train handling is a lot more complicated than it is in this game. Yay! I did something. I don't know what I did, but I did it. Through fire and flames. Gold star. Alright. Well. That's 2 scenarios over and done with. So I'm probably gonna call it there. This seems like as good of a stopping point as any. So it's kind of like a recap of what I've done on this stream. I started back up into Train Sim World 3. I decided to actually do my only Train Sim World 3 route, which is the BNSF route for Cajon Pass in Southern California. I did not 1, but 2 scenarios, one of which where I refueled a locomotive and then connected it up to go down the rails. And then this one where I got hooked up onto a bunch of empty cars and started heading up towards Barstow, but because of the scripted scenario of a forest fire, we stopped on the top of the hill, and that's taken a little over an hour and a half to accomplish that specific thing. But in any regard, this has been Train Sim World 3, specifically the Cajon Pass route. So, thank you all for watching, and hopefully you have a nice